are live.
We're live.
I don't get it. What?
What?
Cheers.
Monday night
Cheers to the
again.
audience.
Another Monday. Boy, the weeks fly by.
Clinky
Pass
through
that to
Bob.
Chuck.
Here, pass the. There you go.
Pass the clink. Ooh,
That has a nice ring to it.
it
That's a
does.
nice ring to it. Did we get new glasses then?
No, not yet. No,
okay.
no.
Haven't
We
quite
still
figured
have
it
to do
out.
that. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another live with the Hermits Monday night. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Well, we're all of us.
couple.
There is a little bit of
There's a gap here.
something missing.
something
We're
missing.
not sure what it is, but we feel like there's something that's not
Really
here.
important.
Something that does a lot of stuff, but I don't know, can't like find things. I don't know, whatever. Maybe it'll come to us later.
Maybe. Maybe it'll show up on the.
Maybe it'll show up.
Yeah, Ken is visiting his mother in Atlanta. Yeah, so he's down just for a couple days, but unfortunately he had to go down when he did and had to miss this show, which he's going to be really bumming about, I'm thinking, because there are some fun wines that are about to be sampled tonight.
Oh, Lord, yes.
Yes, so sorry, Ken. I wish you could be here, but there's more in the library. He'll have more than enough.
If he can find them.
If he can find them. Yeah, so we had to do some serious digging in the warehouse to find these very precious wines. So let me start with give you our opening. If you're joining us for the first time, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you if you're joining us for the 10th time. We really appreciate your support. And if you are joining us, please like the broadcast now, or if you want to wait to the end and see if you really do like it, you can do that too.
Yeah,
but some of you veterans
Just
probably like it now.
Just like it.
You're going to like
Get
it.
it
Yeah,
over
just
with.
go for it.
Yeah.
And then share it with your friends. If you know somebody's interested in this conversation, share it with your friends. We'd love it if you'd do that. And if you really like the show, subscribe. Right below Marika's feet there
Down
is a
over
subscribe
here,
button on
right?
YouTube.
Yeah, under there.
You can't see it. It's there. I swear it's there.
It's there. It's right
And there's a
up
little
there.
bell on Facebook, and if you hit that little bell, you'll subscribe to our Facebook channel. If you subscribe to if you subscribe to YouTube or Facebook every time we go live, which is every Monday night at 5:30.
But other times too.
But other times too. You never know. We could be on top of a mountain somewhere. It's possible we could be on a boat. It's possible we could be skiing. And we're going to go live and tell you a little bit of our story. So it'd be fun if you could join us. So subscribe, and then you'll be there with us when we go live.
We even have a few people in the audience.
We do have a live
You're with
audience
us
today. Cheers.
It's fun.
It's always fun.
We are here.
Oh, yes, we're here.
I found it.
Oh,
Even
good
I
job.
could find this.
Look at that.
Oh, and look at the
Chuck's
like
watching himself on TV.
and
Yep.
the like button.
And that's true. Yeah, Matt comments.
Talk
We have
amongst
got.
yourselves.
So we do have. We've got some people here with us today. We also have people joining us from
France.
Europe.
From Europe.
Matt and Lynn, and actually our staff member Kathy and a couple others are on a barge in Bordeaux, but still tuning
Bordeaux
into
barge.
Facebook Live. That is commitment.
That is commitment.
That is.
I was gonna say I
You know
love
what
I love this show, but if I was on vacation in France, I don't know if I would tune in to join.
Marika,
I'm
that's very disappointing.
I don't know. It might be fun. I would
Do you know
try.
what's exciting? What's really exciting is that
I'll bet you Lynn didn't show up.
I have seen.
She's gone to bed already.
Nope,
That's
Lynn
it.
is here too, and
No.
Kathy.
And Kathy.
Yeah.
They've all tuned in.
They're just.
Guess what though?
They have avatars.
They are. I've watched
should be
them.
sleeping.
They're floating down some river, some canal in Bordeaux, drinking Hermit Woods wine.
Yes, they are.
They're
Oh, well,
literally.
They're going down the Canal de Midi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
drinking Hermit Woods wine.
Yeah.
They're in Wine Central, one of the wine capitals of the world. And cheers to you guys. We just love it that you
I'm
brought
sure,
our
I'm
wine
sure they're
along.
drinking plenty of other
Oh, I'm sure they
wine as
are.
well.
Yeah, I hope you are.
We can't wait to hear about this trip.
They have wine over there.
I can't wait. Yeah, they do. Capital of the world.
Oh, wow. Bordeaux. That was boring to me.
So,
Red Scare all the way.
one last comment, and we're going to get to the Today Show. If you have questions, please leave them in the comments. Let us know you're here so we can say hello, and we'll answer your questions online right now if we can. And if we don't get to your questions directly, we will answer them at the end of the show.
Yes. So yeah, let us know you're here. Let us know what you're drinking, what you're up to.
So what are we doing today?
We're talking about club.
Club.
And the club releases.
Why is that?
So this upcoming Saturday is our spring club release. So we're looking forward to seeing many of our regular club members here, or in some ways the people that aren't here as regularly. You know, we have some
Yeah,
local club
yeah.
members that come all the time, but some folks that aren't here or don't live quite as close, they make a point of coming to visit us for the release a couple times a year. So we're looking forward to seeing all of those folks, and we have a lovely release planned for everybody.
When is
And
that?
it's my favorite. It's Saturday. It's my
This
favorite.
Saturday?
One of my
Mm-hmm.
two favorite days of the year because
Today's Monday.
it's the day we get to see all of the folks that we don't get to see as often the rest of the year. They come in for their wine, and actually it's kind of folds. It starts Saturday, but it folds out because people who are in the club get 45 days to come in and pick up their wine. So for the next 45 days, we're going to get to see most, if not, well, not all, because some of our club shipments do get mailed.
But about 400, 300 people.
Wow, we'll come through here.
Yeah,
Pick
yeah.
up their wines. And these are the wines that are in the club release this year.
No.
I'm a bad
So
guy.
in 2 weeks, once we're going to give people a little bit of time to pick up their wines.
Yes.
So 2 weeks from now, on May 1st, we're going to be tasting the 6 wines that are in the spring club release. So then a lot of club members will have a chance to get their own wine. They'll be able to open a bottle or two and taste along with us once they have their wine. And you know, if they don't have their wine yet, or if they don't want to open all the bottles, they'll at least sort of get to hear us tasting them and learn about those wines. But
So you know what we get to taste today?
today we're tasting
These are either, there's two categories here, either the very first wines released in our club in 2016, ever, our very first club release. Was it spring, right?
7 years ago.
Spring 2016.
Spring 2016, we released 6 wines, 2 of which are actually on the table. This is our 2014 Lake House White and our 2014 Lake House Red, both of which were in the very first club release.
Wow.
And they've been sitting in our library, aging away.
Wow.
And so we're going to get to try them again tonight, see how our club held up over the, what is it now? Almost 8 years, 7 years.
yeah, 7 years.
And then the other wines on the table are very close. They're not the actual wines released. Like, for example, the wine here is our Red Scare Oak from 2012. And it was our, 2014. It was our 2014 Red Scare that we released for the club, not the Red Scare Oak. But today, they're all oaked, so that's actually representative of where the wine went eventually. But it's the same year of the wine that was in the club. And then we have the Three Honey Gold, which was the, what was it? It was 2013. Let me see, I gotta look at the date. Yes, it was 2013 that was released in the club, and this is a 2012. So this is 1 year before the
Quite close.
actual wine, but it's close. And then Harvest Apple was a wine that wasn't meant to be aged so much. So Harvest Apple we didn't put that in our cellar, so we don't have any of that.
No,
But-
this was not for sale.
No, well, this wasn't, but
We
Harvest Apple
had
was
Harvest Apple.
Harvest
This
Apple was the one that
is
was released in the club.
This one was an experiment, a very small batch.
So
experiment.
this wine, this is amazing. And did you try it? Oh, look,
I'm
it's
excited.
gone
to-
already.
Well, you only poured me a little bit.
You said you didn't eat today.
That's true. I have
I was
crackers.
trying to look after you.
Thank
She
you,
had a
Bob.
cracker. Come on, Bob.
So in 2010, Chuck and Ken, I was away.
You were hiking the Appalachian
I was
Trail
hiking-
with Gordon, I think.
Yes, not the whole Appalachian Trail, just
Part of
10
it.
days of it.
Right.
And yes, I was with Gordon, and you guys went over to my house, and I had 2 really old
Derelict apple trees
Yeah,
that made
on their way
really
out.
gnarly, nobody would no idea what they were. But that's sort of around the time of Dolgo, where we're just like, oh, Dolgo was kind of interesting. Let's go pick all the other stuff and see what happens. So we did some apple and pear. And this was just random
Straight
trees
apple.
off your property, 5-gallon bucket, 1 carboy batch. And
That's 13 years ago.
13 years ago. And you can't age fruit wine. Oh my God, is this good? It's so much better now than
Yeah,
it's ever
another splash.
been, ever.
It was quite terrible the
It
first
was
couple
so
of years.
acidic. It
was
would it would burn your lips off when you drank it. It was just almost not drinkable. And this
It
is
still smells quite
apple.
tart and acidic.
It smells tart, but the mouth feels much softer.
Look at the floaties.
Yeah,
Look at
it's serious,
that.
got some serious-
Oh my goodness! I don't know if you could see that out there in the audience, but there's some serious floaties in there. If I didn't know better, I don't even think I'd want to drink that. But there's nothing bad in there.
There
There's
is,
plenty
yeah,
of
there's
alcohol.
almost a sweetness, like a honey,
Like a honey thing in it.
component. I get that a lot with apple
This
wines.
is so delicious.
Yeah, so one of the things, you keep saying this, like when we started this, like, oh, you can't age fruit wine because blah, 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 blah. And we're like, well, we didn't know any better, so we did anyway. And I would say that we've proven over and over again that a 10-year-old apple wine can be really freaking good.
But you know what's really interesting? You know, some of our older apple wines get that bourbony character.
Yeah, they do get oxidized, yeah.
This didn't.
This didn't, no, who knows
Look
why.
at the cork.
It
It's
has
So
got
what
one
was
of the
the-
10
It
cent,
has 10-cent cork
10
in it,
cent
yeah.
cork.
Yeah.
It's held up for
This may be
for
a
13
testimony
years.
to your fantastic cellaring skills.
Not mine, Ken.
Ken, okay.
You might have
guy.
said this. So this was, you said
2010.
2010.
Yeah.
Ooh.
2010. And it's delicious.
And
There's nothing wrong
yeah.
with
No,
this wine.
it is totally delicious. Right, Marika? I mean, we're
It's
just,
fantastic.
yeah, so, thank you. Right.
Yeah, I mean, we're not just blowing Ken's horn. This
No.
is really good.
Yeah. Wow.
Ken, you are going to be sorry you missed this.
Yeah.
Although, I do think I have one more left in my cellar, I think.
Ah.
It's not 100% sure, but I think I have one more left. But this is really good. It won't be, maybe I could probably suck the air out and share this with Ken.
No,
He
we're gonna
should
drink
try
it.
this. You
When
think
is he
we're gonna drink- Sorry, Ken. Chuck said we're going to drink it
When is Ken back?
tomorrow.
Oh. We can
Studio
save
audience?
some.
We have a studio audience today that traveled
Good,
all the way
yeah.
from Switzerland.
From
Try
Switzerland. So this is a very
apple
European show. We have some guests from Switzerland, and we have some club members in France that are joining us for this show.
We are the multinational.
The multinational. Why don't you give them the
Oh,
bottle and
interesting.
they can go take it back?
Matt thinks that,
Oh, no, I'm not giving this to
but this, so this never, you said this was never released to the public? Not
This
quite.
was not. This
But
was
something
not.
similar.
No,
'cause
no, this is
Matt
just-
thinks,
this was-
Matt says, oh, it might be one in our cellar as well, but he might have another similar, another harvest apple or something like
Yeah,
that.
if you noticed on the label, before our guests swooped the wine out of our hands, there was a piece of blue tape with the
the
name
label.
of the wine,
Right.
and that was our
that-
high-tech method of keeping track of our wines in the early days. Was a piece of blue painter's tape with the name of it on. In fact, it's so kind of fun if you go down and see Ken's barrel.
Yeah, it's covered in.
It's got like
yeah.
40 different blue tapes with lots of different designations.
I still have some in my cellar. Some blue tape wine.
Yeah. So we are off to a great start.
Yeah, yeah. No,
that was a beautiful wine.
That's mind blowing.
And I'm really excited that it survived
we just had a
14
little-
years.
Ken, we could save
yeah,
that for
there's the
Ken.
blue
Save
tape.
that for
yeah, we'll
Ken.
save this for Ken. So this is how Ken has labeled all of our early wines so that we knew what it was. In fact, I still have many wines in my cellar with little blue tapes on them. It's amazing how this painter's tape
Actually,
holds up.
Yeah.
I think we could have saved a lot of money and just done
That
painters.
could, we could release a label.
That's
The
just the
painter's
tape
tape
edition.
label.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be really
That
cool.
we could make all the.
That'd be fun.
That would,
Stay tuned,
Yeah,
folks.
okay,
I think
see
I
some
share
see
that.
a picture.
Share that with our design
A
team.
picture of the label of the barrel downstairs
Yeah.
with all the. Oh yeah, I think that's in our future. I think that's got to happen.
Oh, yeah. They do have some blue tape wines, of course.
They. Oh yeah, yeah,
He's gotten them as gifts before, yeah.
yeah. That's
You got that, yeah.
awesome. That's a winner. That's one of the best wines I've pulled out of my cellar in a long time.
That I agree. Yeah, no, I agree.
Really
That's
good.
drinking really well. I would definitely drink that now.
A little splash for rinsing, although we'd have water, but I think with this case, just a little splash to rinse with the wine will be fine.
So are these reminiscent of anything that we're releasing in this coming release this weekend?
There are a few overlaps, actually.
Oh, there are. Good. I did not know that. This looks like some sparkling going
Oh,
on.
yeah.
There's a little
Oh, yeah.
effervescence there. Yeah.
It's, it's fermenting.
yeah.
Ooh, tingly.
All right, so that's my cleansing wash.
It tastes good.
Oh, it's really, if we get through all of these and they all have held up, that's such a testament to how fruit wines
Oh, yeah,
can
there's
age.
some bubbly.
There's some bubbly, but that's okay. It doesn't necessarily mean it's bad.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not bad. And it doesn't really
Little
feel
cork
like
in
it
there.
has that much tingliness to it when I drink it, which is odd because I can see it, but I can't really
Oh, I can feel
get
it.
it. I have a little dryness on my tongue, but that's kind of a
Leftover from the apple, maybe? Or
no. It's a honey thing. Yeah.
So this
I don't know.
is,
So this is 3 Honey
Honey
Gold.
So it's just the wrong year.
The background of this was 3 Honey was one of his earliest wines, and if Geraldine, you're watching, Also, one of my wife's all-time favorite wines. If there was no wine left in the world except Three Honey, Geraldine would be fine. She's like, okay, I could live with that. It's the best wine to her. So anyway, the gold was he took his classic Three Honey, which was just a show mead. It's honey, water, and yeast. Water, you thin the honey to make it a little thinner and less sweet, and then yeast, which converts the sugars to alcohol, and that's a straight up show mead. And it's been a favorite of people's for years here. This one is that same wine dropped into an oak barrel, probably that his dad's oak barrel originally.
Yeah, probably the
With
one
this,
on the
especially this
table.
year, yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't-
It might
Probably
very
the
well have
only
been
barrel
that.
you had for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think actually it was our first year we got our first two. Remember figuring
Yeah,
out how to
we
get them into our
did.
basement, those
We
first
did
two
get
barrels.
yeah.
American oak. But this is a straight up mead aged for about a year in French oak, and it's 2013. So it's is it 13 or 12? 12. So it's 11 years old.
Our meads hold up so well.
Well, and generally, Ken always says this, and I don't quite understand it, other than the fact that honey holds up well, right?
Yep.
So you can keep honey in your house for years, and it doesn't go bad because it has the right concentration of sugar, so bacteria can't get in. And alcohol prevents bacteria from getting in here along with the honey. So there's some science here that I don't fully understand, but meads do age well.
I believe I've read fun stories about sort of archaeology finds where they dig up a bottle of mead that is hundreds of years old, I want to say, and it's drinkable.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
If anyone in the audience knows this history and has read such things,
You do know that
I've heard that.
the oldest evidence, archaeological evidence of the oldest alcoholic beverage is a mead from China.
Yeah,
They
thousands
found
of
residue,
years ago.
10,000 years
Yeah.
ago, residue of a little bit of fermentation in the bottom of a pot, a clay pot or something. And I believe it was a blend. It was honey and grapes that was the first mead.
Is there a term for that you know? I know.
Piment.
There you go.
It's a piment.
Pint.
Honey and
Because
grapes.
there are different terms. You know, a mellow mel is mead with fruit.
Yep.
Fruit in general.
Yep.
A sizer is mead
Apples.
with apples. I know.
Methlaglin. It's a mead with
Coffee?
spice.
Spice.
Oh, spice. There's one. Kapuscamel is with pepper.
Yeah.
I
There's
know.
one with maple syrup. I don't remember the name of it. There's about 24.
There are all the different.
If
and there are,
anybody
you know,
wants to
different
know-
terms for different. If there's a higher percentage
Classifications.
of honey, it's it's a great mead.
Yep.
Or I don't know, we have a fantastic poster that I've learned all of this from. If you ever visit the winery and you're
Right in
go
the
on
hallway,
on the hallway all the way downstairs
Toward
to
the
wine
lower
cellar.
bathroom
Yes.
or the wine cellar,
It's
you'll
like
see a
great.
poster.
I love that sort of poster. You know, the one that sort of the spread chart of different types of beer
Yeah.
that
Yeah, yeah,
categorize
yeah, yeah.
things. Or this mead one is really cool.
So I think this is held up beautifully.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? What's your
It's
assessment?
fantastic.
Yeah.
What's remarkable to me is it actually does not taste that different than a current Three Honey Gold.
That's what I was going to say. And the same happened when we tasted the 2013 Kickstarter 3 Honey that we have for sale
Yeah.
still downstairs. It looks much darker, but that must have just been that vintage, or maybe it is the process of the aging, but it doesn't taste that different. And neither does, this tastes like 3 Honey.
It tastes like
Or
our gold.
Three
Yeah,
Honey
I
Gold.
can't. Yeah, I think that's my opinion too. It's maintained all the character of what the barrel and the process brought to this. It has what I feel like happens, and it just may be my wishful thinking or predetermined notions or whatever. But when these sit in a bottle for a while, they get a much creamier texture in the mid palate and the mouthfeel. And I feel like this has that. It's really got a crazy intense nose with all kinds of stuff going on, of very musky kind of honey flavors that I don't remember having ever sensed before. So I don't know where that's coming from, but it's tremendous. And I know, so the apple wine, I'd say, this is in a couple of years, drink it because it's going to start to at some point go. This, like your
Just keep going.
100-year-old bottle of mead,
might be this one.
could go. If I live to be 1,000, I'd love to open this up and see what it's like.
Do you know that on this topic, there's a bottle of wine in the floorboards of Hermit Woods.
So archaeological people in 1,000 years?
If this
If
building
this is
doesn't
a dig?
doesn't come down in some catastrophe, and somebody's actually remodeling, and someday they will discover a bottle of wine
Yeah.
in the floor.
It's really good.
It won't be this one though. It'll be a deep blue reserve actually.
Oh, Deep Blue Reserve?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
That'll
Yeah,
age
that's
nicely.
delicious.
This is delicious.
Yeah.
2 for 2.
2 for 2. Do we have a mead in this coming release?
Red Scare,
Red
but
Scare.
not a sort of
Well, we're going to get to Red Scare too.
classic mead as much.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
are.
why,
gonna get to
why
Red
is
Scare.
I mean, I think that, and we thought this from the beginning, that when we started this, that mead would really be one of the things that we hung our hat on and got a reputation for, because it's always been my opinion that we've had some of the best mead that I've ever had.
I think this can make some of the best mead I've ever had.
And yet, it has never really caught on, well, Geraldine notwithstanding.
Do you know why? Because there's one mead lover for every wine lover, grape wine lover out there. I mean, or maybe even smaller than that. The percentage of people who even know what mead is very, very small.
Yeah.
So we have a small audience because we're a small winery in New Hampshire. And there's not a lot of wineries in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So we have a small audience to start with, and then the percentage of that audience that actually knows what is and cares about mead. And there's another variable. A lot of people think of mead, they think of something very sweet.
This is not sweet.
It's not sweet,
Yeah,
it's
this
dry.
is almost fruity. It's like more like a wine to me than it is
Yeah.
a honey thing.
And people who, I run into people in the tasting room all the time, oh, mead, I don't really like mead. And I say, well, wait, before you close that door,
Yeah.
try one of ours, because so many of our meads are bone dry and nothing like what you might find at a people always equate it to one of those fairs, those medieval fairs.
Wine fairs, yeah.
Drinking out of a ram horn. And,
Yeah.
and wearing,
There's a place for that.
Wearing animal pelts
Yeah.
and a raccoon on your head.
And those meads are going to be heavy and sweet and very different. So people have that experience with mead, and they're like, well, that's not my thing. Well, wait a minute. Try our mead.
Yeah.
So I think that it's really the biggest thing is that it's a niche audience, no matter how you look at it. There's 9,000 wineries in the U.S. There's only about 600 meaderies.
Yeah.
So there's your percentage right there.
There's something about mead, and this is, and to be honest, it's something that I haven't taken advantage of much recently. But remember sitting on the porch at the winery on Taylor Road, and watching the sunset come over Kearsarge, and having a bottle of 3 Honey mead, and how wonderful the effect is of mead on your psyche at sunset. I mean, it's sort of like a martini, but has this much more rich. There's something.
Are you speaking to a specific moment?
Yeah, when we're sitting on the porch at the winery on Taylor Road watching the sunset. I mean, there's something about mead that is uplifting that other things don't have. And yet, I know that, and still, I'm like your statistics. I don't really drink that much of it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Geraldine's the one who's really.
Geraldine would drink
really
it
bought
every night of every day for the rest of her life. If that's,
Well, cheers to Geraldine.
yeah. She loves it. And there are others like Geraldine. I've met others that really like me just the same. But there's something.
Studio audience, would you like to try some mead? Sure. This is what you get when you get to be the studio audience.
Which, by the way,
On
if
Facebook
anybody
Live.
wants to be a studio audience in the show, just come on up. We're always welcome. We've got a whole 50 chairs that you could sit.
That's
So-
right. We have 50 more chairs.
50 more chairs
We'd
to
have
fill.
to get a few more bottles of wine from the library. but
Yeah, we would.
We'll never run out of wine.
That's okay. We have a fan. All right, so this will be a teller. This is
Oh yeah, no, we're going. Look at the color of that.
This is a 9-year-old Lake House White. Wow.
It's definitely darker, a little oranger.
It's
than
dark.
burnt.
Yeah, that's the first thing that struck me
Well,
about it.
you know what's interesting? Ken has there was a barrel-aged Lake House White that's never been released to the public. Remember?
Oh, it smells kind of funky.
Uh-oh. We might have our first
Actually, you know what it smells like? It smells like
cork.
I think it smells like the
smells like
the
rosé.
white wine, the Jack's white wine crackers. Those taste very good, But
Oh, really?
do you know what I mean?
Oh, wait a minute. It's blowing off.
It's-
Swirl it a bit. It's
No,
blowing
you
off.
Swirl away. It smells like rose hips to me.
Yeah.
That's the first
Yep.
thing I get.
Yeah.
Isn't that, I got that off, that it was like, it needed opening up. It was closed up in that bottle, but I don't know what the taste is, but the smell first out of the bottle
It
was a
smells like
little
the
musty.
ocean seaside now. I'm there picking rose hips with our wine club
It does smell.
members.
It does smell rose
Did you
hippy.
get that
yeah,
little
yeah,
brininess?
yeah.
Like, well,
It's-
this is
yeah,
a
a little
this is a trip.
saltiness.
So I have trouble with Lake House White. That's one that when
It's-
people taste it, some people are like, oh, I can totally taste it. It's all
Yeah.
peach. It's all
Yeah.
peach to me. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
It-
I don't
it is- it's a
quite
tough
get
one.
that.
I get the
just-
peach in it.
If I really think about it and force it,
now
I
that
can
you say peach,
place
I
it.
get
But
peach now.
but this one,
That's what happens, right?
It is what happens,
It has,
totally what
it has to
happens. Yeah,
connect
it's so
because
suggestive.
it's my, well, it's not just suggestive.
It's how our brain works.
My,
actually.
well, my brain, sadly, has a very poor ability to recall things. Memory is a problem for
Your
me.
name is Bob. By
Yeah,
the way.
I
You
know.
asked me to remind you. And that's
So-
Marika.
So when I smell things, I know it's peach, right? But my brain
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
able
that-
to connect
yeah,
the smell to
yeah.
the peach reference until somebody says peach. And go, oh yes, that's what it is. It's peach. Why didn't I think of that? So it makes it hard because I'm in the wine industry, and recall is one of the most important things to becoming a sommelier. You have to have tremendous recall. So
but it's interesting
It's
too because
bonkers, yeah.
we try and avoid
Photographic.
that some at the tasting bar. We don't want to put things into people's heads.
No.
We want them to form their own opinions, their own thoughts, get what they get out before we put anything into their head.
And
But
that's-
then once they've had a chance to taste it, then we can say it's these things, and then they're like, oh yes, of course, that's what it is.
what I tell everybody who's getting into wine for the first time is put whatever names you want. Don't worry about it. As long as the name means something to you and you can recollect that name down the road when you repeat that wine, you're going to learn something, and you're going to learn about the wines that you like. If you do this long enough, the names you give your smells and aromas are going to start being more and more like the names that sommeliers would give, because you're going to become more educated. You'll be more talented at it. You'll be better at it. So 10,000 hours.
For Christmas, I got a wine tasting notes journal
Oh, wow.
made by Wine Folly. So it has, and it lists, the aroma characteristics that are kind of common, and it's good because it puts those words and it gives you that vocabulary to be like, oh yeah, it does kind of taste musty, or it suggests things that it might be tasting like. It comes with this cool color palette for whites, reds,
Yep.
and rosés that you can kind of hold up next to the wine to see, from ruby to bricky on reds,
Yep.
straw-like to lighter.
Do you know you
It's
can get
very cool.
aroma kits?
Oh, cool.
They come with little vials of aroma, and you you open them up and smell them, and then you smell the wine, and you can start discovering the
That's-
true connection.
Have you ever seen the movie French Kiss?
No.
Oh, it's good. That's one. It would be a good. See it. Our audience is nodding. They've seen it. It's a great. It's a rom-com. It's one that I feel like we should have added it to our movie series list. But
There's still
it's
time.
Kevin Kline and Meg Ryan, and they're in France, and they're at a winery, and he has her taste a wine, and she says, "Oh, it's a bold red," and she's using kind of the marketing words that she's heard before. But then he has kind of a set of vials like that, and he has her smell, and it's different herbs and fruits, the actual herbs in there.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, yeah.
And he has her smell a few things, and then taste the wine again, and then she can.
All right,
That's
put that
really
on your
cool.
list.
Yeah, no, that's a great
It's
one.
it's a really fun
I've
movie.
always wanted to get one of those kits. They're
Yeah.
usually pretty expensive. I haven't bit off that bullet yet, but someday I will look into
Studio
that.
audience, have you seen this? Oh, yes. The studio audience is also.
It's fun.
Apparently, we're behind the times.
Yeah.
So this wine for me has gone from like rosehip, wow, Lake House White is an incredibly unique combination of things that no human on planet Earth would ever dream of putting together,
Except Ken.
other than Ken. And
Missing piece.
it's sort of meant to come off like a Chardonnay-ish Burgundy.
Burgundy, yeah.
Which is, from a Chardonnay grape, but to be its own unique thing. I mean, we're not ever actually trying to be something that we're not. So
No,
this is a
no.
completely unique wine.
Peaches, rose hips,
Quince.
rhubarb, and quince.
Quince, yeah.
That's what this wine is.
And-
And this might have autumnberry in it.
That's true. I know that was
So
in
this
it
may,
early
because
on.
it has a really dry finish, and the autumn berry was in there to add a little bit of something in the finish. And I don't remember what year.
Yeah, I don't think current Lake House White has it, but
It
it
does not,
has
no.
sort of on and off over the past several years.
But this is, all of those things I can taste them all. And they become more mature, rich, ripe, and identifiable throughout the whole thing. It's unlike any Lake House White I've ever had because it's reached this level of maturity.
There aren't percentages on there, are there?
There's no even
Some of
ingredients.
his labels, it has the,
But it's an austere wine. I mean, it's not something that your friend who loves Pinot Grigio is going to drink with. You're going to have to, come up with your kit of rosehip, quince, peaches,
They
and
don't have that in the
rhubarb
kit. Those aren't in the
dried,
kit.
and have a little vial. It's like, oh, well, do you get this? And I mean, it's not going to be in the kit.
We have to-
because
we
there's
have to
no wine
write it.
like this anywhere.
you have to
on
create a
planet Earth.
Hermit Woods
We have to
aroma
write
kit.
a new book and create a new aroma cook.
A Hermit Woods
let's
aroma
do
kit.
a
New
movie.
color
No,
chart.
let's have a movie, rom-com. We get Kevin Kline and Meg Ryan, and we can have our own Hermit Woods Lake House White rom-com. They could come to Meredith in their fancy boat, come to the winery and
Go
fall
to a
in
show and
love,
watch some jazz.
come here to a jazz show, have a great tasting.
Who's going to direct it? We got to find a director. That's a great idea.
I was gonna say, you're the
Steven
photographer.
No, Quentin Tarantino.
Quentin,
Oh,
a rom-com
yeah.
by Quentin Tarantino.
No.
Yeah.
Now
Well,
he's
there'll be
off the
some-
rails.
There'll be some zombies and some shooting out on the street, but that'll
No,
get
who's
that'll get
the
people
guy
to
who
go.
does the like the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel and
Oh, yeah.
who's that guy?
I don't
How
know.
about Wes
but-
Anderson?
That I think
That might
is
be
that,
it.
that I think that is it.
I think
He
that's
does
it.
those like really
It's some
quirky,
great music.
bright
I mean, just
colors.
some really great background music.
It is Wes.
Wes
Okay,
Anderson.
Wes Anderson.
I wonder if we can convince Wes to come to
I'm sure he
Meredith.
would. Yeah, he just has to.
Well,
watch
I mean,
this.
so
Once he tries these wines and
we've got
once
a
he
movie
sees
guy
the show.
now. There's George works in movies. He knows some people. Maybe he knows the guy who knows the guy.
Oh, that's something to think
Oh,
about.
how about Deb Lucky could write the screenplay?
She's got her story's going to be a movie. The Lunch Witch.
The Lunch Witch.
Oh, Priscilla has joined us. Priscilla was late today, but she's here.
Welcome,
All
Priscilla.
right.
We're
regulars.
missing out on puns, right?
Right? Yeah.
Not anymore.
Yep.
They're
she's
coming.
here. But yeah,
Fast
we
and
do have all our
furious.
regulars. Matt and Lynn, Geraldine's on, Karen's joined us, Christina's joined us, Gary's here. Gary, I thought you were going to come visit us this weekend, and
I
we
heard
didn't
that
see
Gary's
you.
going to come visit us.
Yeah, that was too bad.
Maybe next week.
Maybe next weekend.
That'll be
Studio audience?
Yes. Yes, please.
You have
I
to
definitely,
try
I get the rose hips more
You get
than
that.
I
Oh no, it's very much on
do
the front.
currently
Yeah,
a
I
lot.
think so.
In
Yeah.
the finish, but doesn't it like make your mouth kind of puckery at the end?
There's a sour
The
kind of a
sourness,
sourness
yeah.
to it, and rose hips to me they're a little more savory and almost vegetable-y. I think that's what they bring
Well, they have
to
that
a
character
wine.
to
You know what I
them,
mean?
yeah.
They're a little kind of tomato-like in their texture,
They're
and
very tomato-like. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's what I'm getting from
There's
this.
a
Yeah.
lot of rosehip. Yeah, I would say this is a lot of rosehip, but I think a lot of the texture and the mid palate and stuff, and the dryness is the other stuff, and the acidity is probably the rhubarb.
Would we all agree that this is 3 for 3? This is
This
held
is
up
3 for 3.
nicely.
Yeah.
and-
Which
How-
surprised
how-
because the initial smell I was like,
Yeah, no, I was a little
I
wary
agree.
too.
No, initially, but Lake House White is tough that way because it's often not something that your palate, if you're like a Pinot Grigio drinker and you smell a wine, you want to smell this bouquet of fruity, flowery thing, and this is more of a rose hippie thing, which is much more earthy and umami than it is flowery and fruity. It's a little, I would say, more challenging to get behind as a wine drinker. But that's not a downside. That's a sophistication level. I think it's always been a very sophisticated wine.
And I think it's also a wine that really does well with food. If you find
It
the
does.
right pairing.
Oh, have mussels.
oh, we already. I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah.
Geraldine already commented. We know that the classic Lake House White with mussels cooked in Lake House White, of course.
Yeah, we had it the other night. Actually, we did. That's one of my favorite
Yeah,
things. We
it is.
just whip it up quickly at home. It's easy to
Oh,
make.
Yeah, you made it the other day for us too, I think.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. It's probably, if you want the recipe, you can
We
check
have it.
here on the recipe section on Facebook Live recipes and get Bob's recipe.
We
from
cooked
Isn't
Lake
it
it
actually no?
on
Isn't
Facebook
it?
Live.
Oh, we
we
cooked the
did
video,
cook
that's
it on
right,
Facebook
yeah.
Live one time, but
The recipe's up there somewhere.
I think it is somewhere on our
Yeah,
website.
it is.
If it's
It
not
is.
You know, someday,
up
of course, you know,
It's
we would
bonkers
love
good.
one of the winter projects on our list someday when we have all the time in the world, which we clearly have lots of. We will make a Hermit Woods cookbook someday.
That's a good idea.
It
I
is.
like that idea. We will do that. So we're on to, we got.
We're
we
actually,
still have some
we're doing
time.
very
We're doing
well pacing,
With
yes.
two
We're
more
actually on a
wines.
good pace.
Yeah, 2 more
Little
wines
wine.
and 20 more minutes. So,
Good timing. I think another water rinse on this one because I want to get
yeah.
that lake house white
switching
out of
into
there.
reds.
This next one's an important transition.
Wow.
So the next 2 wines are extra good because these next 2 wines are in the next release. Obviously not this year, but
Yeah.
we do have Red Scare and Lake House Red are in the spring club release.
What's the subject matter for the brochure this year, Bob? We know?
Have you seen the book yet? We have it downstairs.
We just got the
Oh,
book.
yeah.
I haven't seen the book. I know you picked it up, but I haven't
Yeah.
seen the actual book. I know it's in it.
So this year, this book, we're going to give a sneak preview of our new brand. So exciting.
We're not losing the snail, are we?
No, no.
Okay.
The snail has grown up.
We have a mature snail.
We have a more mature snail. And it is so fun. I got the book today from the printer and just
Oh, yeah. The
thumbing
pictures.
through it with the pictures.
I've seen all the pictures.
It's
Yeah,
so fun, and it's just so us. They really are our partners on this. Really nailed it, and it's going to tell the story in the past and tell the story in the future all at once. It's beautiful. It's a great job. So you're going to get a sneak preview. It's all it is a sneak preview. It's just some snippets of some of our brand creation from the last year of work. It's coming out soon. Well, I keep saying soon. It's
We've
a
been
long
doing kind of
process.
bits and pieces. You know, the snail logo's already out there. We've been
Yep.
using that already. We have some new stickers. It's on the Cirque du Strawberry bottle and things
Yep.
like that. So you've already seen the new snail a little bit. As gradually over the next year or 2 or
Well,
3,
well,
we'll
in
be
the next-
releasing new labels.
The most important thing, we're releasing a new website.
Oh yeah, that will be a big.
We're building a new website, and some of the imagery that you're going to see in the book is going to be representative of that new website. And it's going to tell our story in a unique and different way than we've been telling it. We're not going to lose don't worry, those of you who love the snail, we're not going to lose our history. We're encapsulating the history into a new expression of it. And it's going to allow us to bring, when we started our brand, we were a small winery, part-time, in my
your
master bedroom.
Master bedroom.
Yes,
We
that
are
was
not
our
quite
brand.
that is- that's
Formerly
not
place
really us
known as
anymore.
your office where you made a living.
And since we created that brand, we've added a restaurant, we've added a music venue, we've moved to Meredith, all of these things have changed, and there's some wonderful future things that are going to change that are exciting on the horizon, and we needed a brand that would be able to talk about those
We need a
things.
brand worthy of Sharon Sugar Jones.
Oh my God, that was a
What a
great
crazy good
show.
Like, it's just, wow. I mean,
She was her nephew was in on Sunday,
oh, really?
and yeah, he was in. He did a tasting. He had a great
Oh,
time,
good.
and he mentioned when he was checking out with me that Sharon was his aunt, and
Wow.
I talked about how wonderful the show was. He actually said he's a musician himself. He might be reaching out to you, Bob.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, no, what a great thing.
So, yeah, if
Oh,
you're
my
not
goodness.
sure what Chuck's talking about, I'm sure most of you, if not all of you are, but we now do a listening room series every Thursday night here on this is the stage, and it's amazing. We've had some of the most amazing music I've ever seen in my life, right here in this little space. So I hope you can come join us. We have our shows booked out till June, end of June, and we're building our summer schedule now, so I hope you can find a time to come out to see one of our shows.
Always some great
Yeah.
things coming.
No, the shows are great.
But yeah, Sharon was one of the. I don't know, just the audience was so into it. There was a lot of
Yes,
audience engagement.
It was a cathartic experience. I mean, everybody watching was just into it. And
Well, she's a
she was
performer.
playing the audience.
She's a
and
consummate
asking
performer.
for input and things, and we're in such an intimate space here. I mean, you don't get that if you go to a concert. It's like, yeah, we're just going to beat you over the head with our music, and then you go home. It's like, yeah, that was good or bad. Here, it's like you're a part of the show. You don't
Yeah.
get that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
And
It's
she's
very good.
performed all over the world. She's been performing
Yeah,
since the
but
60s.
she's just
So
bonkers
she knows
quality.
her game.
Yeah.
I'm excited about Sharon was great, but can we talk about this wine?
Yeah.
Oh,
Can we
yeah.
talk about this wine? This wine is,
What is this Red Scare?
Oh my God.
it's just,
Smell the nose. So much
it's,
fruit.
it
Fruit. Yeah. absolutely.
washes over you. It's
This
so-
is-
oh my goodness.
What year is this? This is
You
a,
said 20,
it's a 13. This is a 10-year-old wine, and it smells like the fruit just popped out of the field. It's
no,
so
but I can smell the oak too. I can smell the
Oh,
sort
sure.
of oak and the age and the,
in the honey, there's still distinct honey notes.
even like I can like breathe it in. Do you know what I mean? It's not just the aromas. If you don't just stick your nose in it, like breathe in with your mouth, and you can taste it before. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I can taste it before I put it in my mouth by just breathing in through my mouth.
I almost feel like this has currant in it.
Wow. That's really evolved a lot. It's got a lot of vanilla. It's a little over oaked.
It is a little over, yeah.
But I think that was a characteristic Ken was concerned with from the beginning. So it might have been over oaked from the day one. 'Cause
Yeah,
it
I
has-
get vanilla in the finish, and that puckery, dry thing on the outside of your, inside of your mouth gets kind of puckery, like prune hands, kind of. Is what it feels like to me.
So around this time there was a red scare that was not aged in oak at all.
So this was Ken sort of entered into the world of oak very slowly, experimenting with it slowly. It was something we weren't sure was going to go well. We all sort of felt like a lot of wines were over oak, so we were concerned with that. So in the beginning, not many of our wines spent time in oak. And so gradually he would introduce wines to oak and develop the recipe from there. And when done right, and now 60% of our wines are done in oak.
And I feel like you've been learning, like with the Lake House White that we just did, that barrel-aged Lake House White.
Yeah.
We keep finding that, adding some oak to this does.
Well,
make a big difference.
what else is really important is not so much the adding oak, because a lot of Ken's barrels now are neutral.
Yeah.
So adding a neutral oak, neutral meaning oak barrels only can give off tannin and oak flavor for about 3 years, and then they lose their ability to give those characteristics. But they have this microoxidation that's occurring through the infiltration of air through the pores of the wood. And so the wines that you're tasting now that have been in oak for a long time are very often in neutral oak. So you're not
So
getting
it's-
the big oak flavor.
So it's not the oak, it's more just the aging.
It's
that
the aging in
doing. Yep.
oak. It's that microoxidation. It's the evaporation process, because you're losing in an oak barrel. You're losing 1 to 2 bottles of wine every month through evaporation. And depending on the humidity of the room, some of that is alcohol and some of that is water, depending on the humidity. So if you're losing more water than alcohol, then your alcohol is actually going up. If you're losing more alcohol than water, because the humidity is set that way, you end up with less alcohol in the wine. But that's a very small percentage. It's not changing it that dramatically.
Yes. So the concentration of the fruit, the aging, it's blackberry and black raspberry, have become so ripe in this, but there's no sweetness. So it's like the richness of those fruits. What I'm surprised it doesn't have, being a mead, is that really creamy mouthfeel that we got from the aged 3 honey.
So there's something that we...
I don't taste the honey in this.
I do
can
get the
smell it.
honey.
You can
Yeah, I can smell it. That's where I get the honey. That's in the nose.
But it's not to
not on
me
the
that the mouthfeel didn't become rich and creamy like I would have expected with an aged mead.
So there's two things that are at play here. One is, Ken has been, think about how his wines have changed in the last
Red
10
Scare
years.
has evolved a long way.
It's come a long way.
Yeah.
So all of the wines we're tasting right now are very early on from Ken's career as a winemaker. So, and not that he wasn't making great wine then, but his wines were different. He's learned. His wines are better today than they were then. But then we have the other variable, that wines with he can't add age. Age is something you have to wait for. So there's a plus and a minus. The minus being this is an early wine that was in its development, and the plus being it's had time to mature.
Yep. No, and there's flavors that have unlocked over time on this that are just bonking me over the head and crazy good.
It seems like the one
Very
thing that I'm
wine-like.
yes, and the only exception I have to this is I feel like it doesn't have a finish. It disappears quickly. It's very light on the finish.
It
Whereas
is like
yeah.
it's very fruity. It's more like a Beaujolais or something.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a big tannin grippy end, even though it has that sort of vanilla oaky thing from the oak barrel.
And I think that's, if I remember, one of Ken's greatest struggles along the way has been building body.
Yeah.
In the very early
Yeah, I
days,
agree.
remember
Yeah,
our
you said that
early
a lot.
blueberry wines were very thin, very watery, very light, and had great taste, but they didn't have the body and the mouthfeel that you were used to with drinking a classic red wine. And so he's really focused in the last 10 years on figuring out how do you build body into a wine. Oak barrels, I think, are a big contributor to that. And so this has some of that characteristic thinness or lack of body that I think was reminiscent of some of his earlier wines. This is not the case today. Red wine is, the Red Scare is so, it just fills your mouth with flavor and
Yeah.
coats your mouth with just great
So still,
texture.
for having aged, it's brilliant. And
Yeah.
I would say that a
There's
matter
nothing wrong
of
with it.
flavor, it has brought out things that you can experience that you couldn't have experienced otherwise.
without waiting for it.
No, and it was really good.
Matt has a good question. So once a barrel gets to be sort of neutral, you can do other things to get that oak, right? He asked about oak chips in an older oak barrel.
Yeah.
And we do that. I don't know if he ever
Yeah.
does
We don't
it
use
in the
chips,
oak.
we use inserts.
We use
They're
inserts.
like
They're sort of like
staves.
long sticks and kind of spirals of oak that we can suspend down into an oak barrel or into one of our metal tanks.
Yeah,
So
and that's
that- and that's
actually
great 'cause
very
it's-
common.
And that's nice because it's much more controlled, right? You know, a barrel is going to evolve over time and be different every time you use it, whereas these, you get them fresh, you know exactly how big it is, how much oak is there. You can put it in for a specific amount of time, so Ken does use those. some
It's
as well.
actually, you think about all the variables that are going on, because we don't have any, there's no hard and fast control over any of these things, right? A barrel changes over time. A barrel changes based on what's been in the barrel.
Yeah.
A barrel is aging too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the barrel is in its own evolutionary stage, and so you don't have complete control over that. You put a wine in that barrel and you sort of watch it happen and you taste it. And Ken is always saying he'll taste the wine out of a barrel that he hasn't experimented with for a while, and he'll go, wow, that's like sometimes you know how he puts it, Red Scare will go into 4 barrels.
Yeah.
And he'll
They'll all
taste
be
all
different.
4 of them, and they're all different.
Yeah, right.
Because they have the personality of each of those individual barrels. And then, of course, the same thing with, as you start introducing staves, then you have this other level of control. But it seems like this constant, it would drive me nuts. I mean, I'm impressed that Ken can manage all this in his
well,
head.
I think it's a
but-
part of the creativity because think of the barrels. We get barrels now from Tamworth Distillery. We have a release of wine that has barrels from Stoneface Brewery. And those barrels have changed these wines into something like, they're awesome. It's
So
really fun.
You actually just released some news that we haven't shared yet, so I'll dig in a little bit on that. We just struck a partnership with Tamworth Distillery. They shared with us a couple apple brandy barrels.
That's so exciting.
And we have our crabapple wine aging in those apple brandy barrels
Yeah.
right now. And
It's phenomenal.
Jamie, the head distiller at Tamworth, came and spent 3 or 4 hours with us on Saturday.
Yeah.
And tasted through some of our wines and tasted the wine that we're aging in the barrel, and super excited about a flourishing partnership with Tamworth Distillery, and we're going to deliver 2 barrels to them.
Oh, no way.
He's
Really?
excited. He
They're
got
gonna-
excited.
They're going to put some whiskey of some sort or a bourbon.
I don't know what, maybe a bourbon. I'm not
Into-
sure. He mentioned
sure.
it on Saturday, and
Yeah.
I don't
Oh, that's
remember what he
fantastic.
said, but he had some ideas.
I think that's just phenomenal.
So Ken, I don't know how this is going to go, but Ken came up with the idea that he and I will deliver the 2 barrels to Tamworth
On motorcycles.
Motorcycles.
How?
How did you know?
No. That
Because
doesn't
you guys have
seem
motorcycle
like-
brains, that's why.
That doesn't seem safe.
So if you guys don't see a
They'll be
show
empty.
next week,
No, they'll be empty barrels.
there'll be these two seats
Even
will be
so,
empty.
it's still
and
pretty
Ken
big.
Okay, yeah, I'll be.
and Chuck and Marika will be here
Yeah.
telling you the story
we'll,
of
we'll
the end
do
of
a live visit to the Lakes Region General
Yeah, that's what I was
Hospital,
just gonna say. We're
where
gonna
Ken's,
go
like,
live
wearing
from-
a barrel
from the
and-
ER.
carrying a barrel.
We did, didn't we? There was one show where we went. I think it was the one. I think I was at home and you were interviewing me, but.
Oh yes, Ken was in the
but
car
Ken was in the
you
car
were in the
because
hospital.
you were in the
Had a
hospital.
skiing accident.
Yeah. So it has
I
been
really thought I
done.
broke my rib. It was hurt
All right.
so much.
We've
Oh,
got
my
7 minutes left.
So
and we've
one
got
more
one
wine.
more, one more wine.
Okay. So say you might see some interesting things could happen this week. Stay tuned. You will if you subscribe, you might
know.
actually get to see an example of what this is going to end up being like.
So our last wine is Lake House Red, which is also in the spring release
Yeah. And this is the actual wine that we released.
in 2016.
In 2016.
That's really fun.
First club release wine. So if you're still one of those first club release people, you may still have this in your cellar, like Matt and Lynn.
I think Matt, they were, I think, a year in. I don't know if Matt and Lynn joined the very first year.
I don't know.
And
that
I know
were.
they were apart. They were separated by a year or so too,
Oh, okay, all right.
when they both officially became club members. But
So there's somebody out there who does this. Because the funny thing to me is that people get a club release and they don't drink the wine. They put it in their cellar and save it. When I get club releases,
You drink them.
I just drink them. It's like, wait a minute, what? But you're supposed to save things. It's beyond me a little bit.
So this is a fun story. I keep a cellar, as you know.
do, yes, no,
And I'm pretty good at saving
that than I
things.
am.
And I pulled out a wine that I bought in 2011 or 12 for 25 bucks. And we were going to drink it the other night, and I used my app to check its status. It wasn't a Hermit Woods wine, it was a wine I bought from another producer in France, and it was valued at $175 on the open market. So that's, I don't care about the value, but it's cool to think that because I'm patient enough to let that wine sit down there for 10 years, I got to pay $20 for a bottle or $25 for a bottle, that today I would have to spend $175 for the same bottle.
Right.
Of course, I had to take care of that wine for 10 years, which wasn't necessarily easy.
Did
but
you charge
still.
it rent?
Yeah. It's charging me
He's
rent,
charging you rent.
and I'm paying for it. But we put it back. Ken and I had it. We put it back. We're going to save it for you.
Oh, okay.
So we'll have it when you're around. Because we were just having a casual night, and we picked this wine out, and we'd already had a couple bottles of wine. And you never should drink your best wines after you've had a few already, because you're not going to appreciate them as much. So
Wow.
this actually smells a bit like the Red Scare does.
it does
It's a
smell
lot
like the Red Scare.
Not
yeah.
quite.
Similar
not,
fruits though,
not as oaky.
and the honey's not there. Well,
And
of
that's
course,
what-
that's
to
the
me-
difference. That's the difference between these two wines.
When I describe these two at the tasting bar, I think of them as being pretty similar in a lot of ways. They are both quite fruity. You get the strong berry notes, but Lake House Red has got a lot more kind of punch to it. There's sort of a
Well, it has
boldness and more of a punch that comes, I think, from
It has
maybe comes from the
elderberries.
elderberries, or
elderberries in it.
and
That's
also
the big difference. And elderberries are really flavorful,
Yeah.
and they have a really unique mouthfeel and dryness from whatever it is that an elderberry is.
and you don't have the honey from the
And
in the
this
Red
has
Scare.
the
You've got the honey
autumn
to smooth everything out.
This has the
This has the autumn berries.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So you know what's interesting
no
with this
honey.
wine, and we should talk about this for all of them, but this wine still seems young to me.
Studio items.
This wine still seems like it's got some time left in it.
Oh God, no! This is as fresh as daisies.
Yeah,
There's a
and it's
bitterness. on
9
it.
years old.
Elderberries.
What is the elderberry?
Yep. Elderberries have a bitterness.
Mm-hmm.
They're a hard thing to balance. This has been.
It's a hard fruit to make wine with
It's-
too.
I really think so. I mean, we've had straight elderberry wine,
Mm-hmm.
but back in the day, when Ken found elderberries, a lot of it went out and picked. Remember the guy who used
Oh,
to
God,
forage
yeah.
for us?
Yeah.
And it's not an easy fruit. You have to freeze it, and the stems are poisonous, and I mean, it's a lot of work. There are growers that grow different varieties of elderberries that we're using now that are much better at making wine than the wild fruit that we picked when we first started.
Well, Ken's our current producer is. It's unfortunately we have to go to Arkansas to get them, but it's a tiny, tiny little organic elderberry farm in Arkansas, and the owner of the farm actually hand delivers the elderberry to us
here, yeah.
every year. It's cool.
Dankeschön.
And
Dankeschön. It's schön, not schön. Sorry.
and
That's terrible German.
so yeah, it's unfortunate, like I said, that it's coming from that far away because we like to use local fruit, but it's really hard to find local elderberries. In fact, one time we had this great farm providing elderberries out of Maine.
I know.
And they
I went
loved
there and
our
picked 'em
wine
up,
so
yeah.
much, they stopped selling it to us so they could make wine from it. And they started their own winery. It's like,
Yeah, I
darn.
remember I went there and picked up the elderberries one year. The guy was a dentist who
Yeah.
bought a big house and had a bunch of land. He's like, I'm going to grow elderberries. We didn't really have a plan. So we bought a whole bunch and then,
He liked the wine, and he said, I think I'm going to turn it into wine. Forget it, you can't have it
Well,
anymore.
I mean, certainly that's the smart thing to do.
There's definitely a lot more elderberry, a lot less
Yeah.
raspberry, I think,
Yeah.
than current.
So,
Yeah.
Is there even is it the same for blackberry, blueberry,
There's
raspberry,
black raspberry,
and elderberry?
Black raspberry, blackberry, elderberry,
so it's changed a little from our current one.
blueberry. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And there's no black currant. I thought there was black currant, but that's in Hermitage, I think.
That's in Hermitage.
Yeah.
I think Hermitage.
which of these wines have time left, and which ones would you say are at the end of their aging capabilities?
I bet the 3 honey, I'm sure, has time left.
Well, let's start with this one. Does this have time left?
Yes.
Yes. What do you think? 5, 10
no,
years?
10 years.
Okay, good. I agree. 5 to 10 years
Yep.
on the Red Scare.
Yep.
I mean, on the Lake House Red. And the Red Scare?
10 years.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm a little less sure about that,
Yeah, maybe.
but
I'm being aggressive in my estimate.
and that's fine. I'm just curious where, because none of us really know.
Right. Yeah.
We'll know in 10 years when we have a show on Monday night when we're digging out the last of our library collection of these wines.
Or in 1,000 years.
We'll tell you then. Yeah. Or somebody will be dead
Somebody
and somebody
will.
else will be on the
Somebody
show
like-
saying,
yeah.
here's
Oh,
that
they
stuff
were
those
wrong.
hermits created.
It was 5
Chuck
years.
was right. Bob was wrong. Lake House
Rico
White?
was right. Lake House White is drink now.
Drink now. I agree. Lake House White was the one, and I felt like it's right at the end of its
Yeah.
its tail. It's got to be drank. It's 10 years old. It's got to be drank. How about you?
I am not as experienced in this sort of thing.
You'll get there.
Are you saying we're old?
No, I'm saying you are wise.
She's saying we drink more.
We have more
We
experience.
drink more.
Because I thought, I think
She'd be right about that, I think.
what you mentioned about maybe Red Scare being over oaked, I got some kind of off to the Red Scare that I've tasted when we've opened other bottles that are kind of too old and just haven't
Well,
aged
that
right.
initial puff of air that came out of that
Yeah.
bottle was what had a scary sort of musty basement
maybe-
smell.
yeah, and
but it blew off almost
true.
right away. I don't know
That's
what
true.
that was.
So that one had
So
some
maybe
of that.
it's closer to the end than we
Well,
thought
and it's in a
because of that.
smaller bottle, so smaller bottles
Age
age
more
more
rapidly.
rapidly. So there's that. So there's
The Lake House White was also, that had a bit of a funk when we very first opened it,
did, yeah.
which makes me a little suspicious of it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Well, I think that's
That's
I think
what
it's at the
you're
end.
saying,
I
yeah.
think you're right about that.
I think that was-
The 3 honey, I think could age.
I know,
10,000 years
10,000
from now,
years,
they're
I
going
go,
to
am
dig
I
that up.
Yeah.
It's like 10,000.
Yeah.
I tried, as we were chatting, I tried looking up oldest bottle of mead and I couldn't find. I thought I had heard that they had dug up bottles of old mead and actually opened them and tasted them, and they.
I haven't heard it.
But I did find there is a famous bottle of wine that is very, very, very. Now I don't remember the year, but it's very, very old.
Well, there's a whole
And
collection
they
of
think
wines.
it would be drinkable. Probably wouldn't taste very good, but there is a very, very, very old intact bottle of wine in a museum in Germany.
What is very, very old? Give us a year. No, don't look it up. Just,
I
just
don't
reference
remember
it. Are we
now.
talking 400 years old, 1,000 years old? What are you talking about?
I think
Germany's only like
Thousand.
1,000
I
years
think
old.
like
so.
Roman.
Okay, that's fine. Because there are there are examples across you hear in the news all the time where somebody breaks out at late 1700s.
1,700 years old.
1,700
The
years
Spire
old.
wine bottle. Yep.
Yeah, I'm
It's-
thinking
it's
that's not
in-
going to taste very good.
No, it's gross looking, but it is intact liquid in a bottle, sealed. Discovered in 1867.
What kind of bottle was in 1,700 years ago?
It's a glass bottle. They had glass in ancient Rome.
Well, I know, but they did put their wines in all kinds of
Yes.
different types of
And
crafts.
furs.
But yeah, and it's got a wax. It has a wax seal.
Yep. Wow.
So then we're down to the apple one.
The apple wine, which
Drink now.
I think drink
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
It's drinking great. It
Hey,
may
number
hold
one
up
drink now.
another year or two.
Yeah,
but
I
who
would
would
say,
know?
yeah, who would know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we wouldn't
it's-
think you'd
it's-
age
no,
that
it's-
wine for
it's-
as long as it is.
It's 10 years beyond its living life cycle already, and it's awesome. So,
So
I
drink it
don't even
now.
know, dude. I just,
We
yeah,
should just
enjoy
drink
it.
No, you should
We
save
should save
that
it for Ken.
Save it for Ken.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, and we're 2 minutes over.
We're 2 minutes over. So that's the end of this, another episode. You've spent another evening with the Hermits. Thank you so much. We appreciate it, especially you folks who are traveling in France to stay up late enough to be here for our show. We really appreciate it, as always. And thank you to our live audience for joining us today. Cheers to you.
Cheers.
And we will see you next Monday. We don't know for what, but we will figure it
We'll
out.
have a good topic as always.
We will find
Something
something.
to do with wine, I
I
suspect.
will.
Something to do
So
with
I have
wine, yeah.
I have an idea. I'll show
All right,
I
it's
think I
a
have an
surprise.
idea.
Marika's going to surprise you with it in the next couple days. But we have some exciting news to share with you. There's a lot of changes happening at the winery right now, and we'll be letting you know about those changes soon as well. Lots of exciting things. So thank you so much for joining us, and we will look forward to seeing you next Monday at 5:30 live with the Hermits. And until then, have a great evening and have a great week.
Cheers.
Bonne nuit.